Chapter 18, Blitz Off. After all the commotion, everyone regroups in the Aurochs locker room where Wakka is lying on a bench, unable to play the next match after taking a beating in the first game. The rest of the Aurochs are worried as they are going up against the Luca goers next, but Tidus steps in to take Wakka's place. Before the game starts, Wakka tells his team that he's retiring after this game, win or lose. After everyone leaves, Wakka and Lulu are left alone in the locker room where Wakka passes out on Lulu. Realizing that Wakka really gave it his all, Lulu seems almost proud of him. Before leaving, Wakka leaves a note on the wall of the locker room. My best memories are here, Wakka, captain of the Aurochs. As the finals begin, we see a familiar face entering the stadium, Auron. We then see the two teams inside the sphere preparing to begin the game, and even in this moment, the Luca goers act like children. With that, the game begins. The outcome of this game, like a few other things I've mentioned, is actually optional. If you're new to the game and didn't really go over all the tutorials, me, and if you failed Jet Shot in the boat, yes, you can do that. I just didn't mention it. This game will actually be pretty damn hard. But if you got the hang of the mechanics and you got the Jet Shot, this game is actually quite a breeze. Personally, I haven't lost this first game ever since I started to understand how Blitzball is played. I used to mainly ignore this minigame, so like the first 2 or 3 times I played this game, I just purposely lost so I can get over it, and I never played Blitzball again. Anyways, no matter what happens, halfway through the second half of the game, people will start changing for Wakka. Tidus, despite feeling left out, knows that this isn't really his place, so he volunteers to exit the sphere so he can give Wakka his last moment to shine before he retires. Also, Wakka suddenly is capable of playing. The game continues as usual, and assuming we're going with the victory timeline, the Aurochs finally manage to win, not just the game, but the whole tournament. Tidus goes into the sphere to meet with Wakka, who's just basking in his last moments as a Blitzball player. However, the moment is broken by the sound of screams and fiends appearing in the sphere and all over the stadium. Wakka and Tidus both manage to fight their way out of the sphere. Meanwhile, outside, the crowd is being attacked by fiends. Fiends who do not face Auron. With a quick smirk, this old warrior monk prepares for a battle and swiftly defeats the fiend before him. Tidus and Wakka then find Auron, and before being able to catch up, even more fiends show up. As the stadium seems to be overtaken by fiends, Seymour shows up and summons his Aeon, Anima, his mother. Anima effortlessly takes out each fiend one by one, and within seconds the stadium is clear of fiends. After this, the Aurochs catch up with Wakka, sad about the fact that he's leaving. Wakka straightens them up and gives Dado, one of the Aurochs, the trophy they won.
Well, see ya, boys. You be good.
Captain.
I can't hear you.
Captain!
After this, Wakka regroups with Yuna and Lulu, who are waiting near an exit to Mayhem High Road. Now a full-time guardian, Yuna welcomes Wakka back.
Then welcome back, Sir Wakka.
Wakka then asks Lulu about what happened, but nobody knows where the fiends came from. Just that Micah and everyone is safe thanks to Seymour and his Aeon, which Yuna mentioned was really powerful. From now on, the story will be much more focused on Sin and Yuna's pilgrimage. No more of this Blitzball bullshit. Elsewhere in Luca, Tidus meets up with Auron and they catch up.
Hey you! Don't just stand there! All of this is your fault! Getting swallowed by Sin, ending up here in Spira, not being able to go back to Xanark, and everything! I'm telling you, it's all your fault!
Auron simply laughs at Tidus, and then finally, after so many years of knowing Auron, Tidus asks Auron a pretty crucial question.
Who are you anyway?
Auron tells Tidus all about Jet, Vraska, and his history, how they fought and defeated Sin 10 years ago. He also tells him that the purpose of him going to Zanarkand was specifically to look over him, so that one day he could bring him to Spira, at the request of Jet. Finally, Auron drops the bombshell on Tidus. He tells Tidus that his father is, technically, alive, because Jet is in Sin. Auron doesn't really go into much detail, and Tidus is unable to believe him thanks to his lack of knowledge. But Auron believes that it's better he learns the details by himself. When Auron tells Tidus that it's entirely his choice whether or not he follows him, Tidus becomes even more frustrated at the false choice before him.
Ah! What am I supposed to say? You tell me it's my decision. But I don't have a choice, do I? You're the only one who can tell me what's going on anyways. I have to go with you. I have to.
Irritating, I know. Or are you afraid?
Auron, in an out-of-character moment, comforts Tidus to calm him down, and Tidus asks him if he will ever go home. Auron tells him that it's up to Jet, before he starts making his way to Yuna, as he plans on asking her to let him become her guardian as he was to her father. Both Tidus and Auron make their way to Yuna and the rest, who believe at this point that Tidus just ran off with Auron, having finally found someone he knows. However, before Yuna can go find him, they see both of them. Auron immediately offers his services as a guardian to Yuna, which she gladly accepts. Not only that, but he then volunteers Tidus to be her guardian too. When Auron tells Yuna about the promise he made Jet, Yuna asks Auron if Jet is still alive, but he lies and says that he doesn't know as he hasn't seen him in 10 years. Then, Auron walks away over to Lulu and asks for a briefing of their itinerary, while Yuna and Tidus go off to talk by themselves. Yuna shows Tidus that she's gotten better at the whistling he showed her, and Yuna, noticing that he seems sad again, asks him if he wants to scream again, but Tidus doesn't really think that'll help this time. Yuna tells Tidus that Summers and Gardens are Spira's ray of light, as they all depend on them. Because of that, Yuna has learned to smile even when she's sad. This starts an adorably awkward scene where Yuna tells Tidus to give her his best smile, even if he has to just force it. Just like she forces herself to smile for the people of Spira. Tidus tries for her, but...
This is weird.
Then Yuna tells him to try laughing out loud, and... well, we get this.
You probably shouldn't laugh anymore.
I just want to take a moment to defend this scene. It gets so much shit, and I feel like it's either from people who don't get that the laughs were fake, or it's just people riding on the hate bandwagon. People always say how bad the acting in the scene is, and they always use it as an example of bad voice acting because of how bad the laughing sound. But that's the point. It's awkward because it's not a real laugh. Eventually, Tidus realizes he's embarrassing Yuna, and he continues just to mess with her. That's when she joins in the silliness. They even begin laughing for real immediately after, showing what their real laugh sounds like. The whole scene is actually kinda cute and hilarious for all the right reasons. It's just two teenagers crushing on each other, being dumb and enjoying it. Anyways, sorry, I wanted to take a moment to defend this scene because I've always thought it was stupid that people hated on it so much, because it sounds exactly how it's supposed to sound. It sounds fake and awkward. Anyways, after Yuna thanks him for the laughs, as she wants her journey to be full of laughs, they turn around to see the rest of the group looking at them as if they're wondering if they should be worried about their mental health.
We were just worried you guys might have gone crazy.
Sorry. Well then, alright. Now, we will go to the temple at Jose. And Guardians, don't forget to smile.
Chapter 19, the Mihane High Road. Tidus and the rest make it to Mihane High Road. On the way, an old historian tells them the story of the Mihane High Road and the Crusaders. He then introduces himself as Macon, a wandering historian learning all about the stories and secrets of Spira. They then meet some Jose Chocobo knights, Lucille, the captain, and 2 of her knights, Elma and Clasco. They tell them of a large fiend attacking Chocobo, and Tidus immediately decides that they should go take care of the fiend. When Auron asks him why, Tidus says,
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
which makes Auron laugh, as this is the same thing Jet said in this same situation.
I told you this was a waste of time.
Hey, come on. It's the right thing to do. Everyone's depending on us.
After this, the group came across a summoner named Belgemine. And after some introductions, Belgemine tells Yuna that she could help her with her summoner training, and so they have a one-on-one match using their Aeons. This fight can actually be a little tough if you haven't worked on Yuna, as your Aeon's levels depend on Yuna. Either way, after the fight, you get different items depending on whether you win or lose. And as they say their farewells, Belgemine tells Yuna that she believes with some practice she could defeat Sin. Yuna believes Belgemine would probably defeat Sin first, but Belgemine says,
I cannot. Huh? Or should I say, I was not able to.
You mean...
Farewell, Yuna. We'll meet again.
After Belgemine walks away, Tidus and the rest come across a little girl named Callie and her mother. Yuna assures her that she will bring them the next calm, and then her mother wishes Yuna and her guardians good. You done, Jingle Bells? Yuna assures her that she will bring them the next calm, and then the mother wishes Yuna and her guardians good luck before leaving with Callie. This is when Tidus is taught about the calm and about Sin's pattern of death and rebirth by Yuna and Lulu. This finally brings some sense to everything for Tidus, as he was confused about why Yuna was trying to kill Sin when everyone was talking about Braska already having defeated Sin. But this brings him to another question. If Sin just keeps coming back, then is it really worth...
Don't say it isn't worth it. Because it is.
Even for a little while, people can sleep in their beds without being afraid. That kind of time is worth anything. Don't say it isn't worth it. Your words that day, Yuna, I remember them well.
The group eventually come across Gata and Luzu, who are getting ready for their fight against Sin after Lucille scolds them for loafing around. They leave and the group continues down the road. As they get close to an end, they spot a disciple of Yevon, Shalinda, arguing with a Crusader about their operation. Apparently the Crusaders are joining forces with the Al Bhed in this fight, and are even using some forbidden machina to try to kill Sin once and for all. Because of this, the Church of Yevon has rejected them. Auron says that despite what weapon they use, they won't defeat Sin. Both Wakka and Shalinda agree that even if it's for defeating Sin, the teachings of Yevon must be upheld, but she believes nobody will listen to her because she's just a lowly acolyte. Yuna lifts her spirit, telling her that she's in a similar position as her, as she is also a newbie summoner, but she doesn't put herself down because she knows people are depending on her, just like they're depending on Shalinda too. With her spirits uplifted, Shalinda decides she will continue her training before the group continue with their journey. Finally, they make it to an inn. There, Auron decides they will rest, although Wakka protests since the inn is owned by an Al Bhed. Auron, however, doesn't care about Wakka's prejudice and just walks in.
As if I could sleep.
Eventually they all go in, but Tidus doesn't seem to be able to sleep, so he goes out to see what everyone is up to. Outside he spots Yuna sitting by herself at the edge of a cliff. Yuna seems a little surprised to hear him getting close, and she seems to put something away as she quickly turns around and greets him with a smile. Yuna tells Tidus that she wishes she could live in a pretty place like this peacefully, with a smile on her face. And our blissfully ignorant boy Tidus says,
You can, once you beat Sin, right?
Yuna just nods and says that a new Sin would be born anyways, to which Tidus responds that she could just beat Sin over and over again. Yuna just tells him that she wishes she could, and Tidus, seeing this as a lack of confidence, tells her,
Hey, you can. Trust me. You are the best summoner out there.
and then asks Yuna if using Machina was such a bad thing that it really deserved Sin as a punishment. And Yuna admits that she never really even questioned it up until now, and now that he asks, she's not really sure what to answer.
Oh, such thinking is very unbecoming of a summoner. Sound like Micah?
That's not very nice, you know.
Comparing her journey to defeat Sin to a blitzball game, Tidus says that she has to have her eye on the ball and not worry about anything else.
No? After we beat Sin, that's when you can worry about the future.
When he asks how they're supposed to beat something that big, Yuna tells him about the final summoning and the fate that she believes lies waiting for them in Xanarkand. As Tidus gets excited about the idea of traveling to Xanarkand, Auron interrupts and says that she means the ruins of Xanarkand. Then he tells Yuna to go back inside before he walks away. Tidus assures her that he will go to Xanarkand with them to see with his own eyes. The next morning, Tidus wakes up, and on his way out of the inn, he encounters Rin, the owner of the inn company they're in. Rin starts teaching Tidus about the Albed language when the conversation is cut off by Chocobo Keeper yelling for help. Outside, the group find the Chocobo-eating fiend that they were warned about the day before by Lucille. Probably the same one that Jet, Braska, and Auron fought during their pilgrimage. The group fight the fiend, and 4 things can happen. 1. They can, well, be killed by it, resulting in a game over. 2. They can be pushed off a cliff, resulting in a loss but not a game over. Instead, the player will just have to continue through the Mihan Old Road. 3. The player can actually push the Chocobo Eater off an opposite hill, killing it, getting some extra loot, and allowing them to continue through the Mihan High Road. Or 4. They can just outright kill it, which yields the same results minus the extra loot. We're going with the 3 or 4 timeline since, story-wise, they yield the same result. So, one way or another, the group managed to defeat the Chocobo Eater, and the Chocobo Keeper rewards them with a free Chocobo ride. Using the Chocobo, or not, the group continued down the Mihan High Road. When they come to the end of the road, they come across Donna complaining about a blockade caused by the Crusaders who have parked their cart in the middle of the road. Inside the cart seems to be some kind of fiend. Even after the cart leaves, the Crusader blocks anyone from crossing until the operation is complete. This includes Yuna and any summoner group. Eventually, Seymour shows up with some lackeys and greets Yuna. After realizing that Yuna is troubled by the fact that she can't get through the Crusader's checkpoint, Seymour talks to the Crusader to allow Yuna and her group to pass, telling the Crusaders that he will take full responsibility for them. Yuna seems to be very taken with him, but Tidus seems to just instinctively not like him. Wakka, however, has a lot of respect for him simply for being a leader of Yevon. Chapter 20, Operation Mihan. The group make it to the Mushroom Rock Road. There they see Seymour giving a speech of encouragement to the Crusaders. This angers Waka as he doesn't understand why a leader of Yevon would support a mission using Forbidden Machina. It seems this operation, called Operation Mayhem, while widely rejected by Yevon, was still promoted by two maesters, Seymour and Keenock, the leaders of the Crusaders. When Seymour approaches the group, Orin, who has a newfound disdain for Yevon ever since his encounter with Yunalesca, snubs Seymour's attempt at asking him what he's been up to all these years. Then Waka stumbles through attempting to ask Seymour why he approves of this operation.
Excuse me, Maester Seymour. Why is your lordship presently present here, sir?
Please, speak as you normally would.
When he finally asks him, Seymour tells him that despite knowing that as a maester he should stop the operation, he knows that the Crusaders and Al Bhed have pure intentions, as they're both trying to bring peace to Spira. This is why he, as a person, not a maester, wishes them well. Waka then asks him if it isn't wrong to use Machina, and Seymour's answer?
Pretend you didn't see them.
Everyone is shocked as, just as Waka says, that's not something a maester should say.
Then pretend I didn't say it.
Despite not liking Seymour from the moment he saw him, Tidus agrees with some of the things Seymour said that day. After Classico shows up to tell them that Seymour's requests their presence in the command center, the group make their way through the Mushroom Rock Road. But Waka, the merchant asking for money on the first boat from Besaid, managed to make his way through the guards, and if you donate enough money to him, he'll sell you some stuff for a discounted price. Once they get close to the command center, the group notice Gata arguing with Luzu because he wants to actually fight in the front lines, but Luzu is ordering him to stay behind and defend the command center. When Gata runs off in a rage, Tidus tells Luzu that Gata deserves better. Then Waka jumps in just to give Luzu some sass about the Al Bhed Machina.
Why are you guys fighting anyway? Aren't the almighty Al Bhed Machina enough?
They still need some time to get them ready. Our job is to keep Sin at bay till they're done.
Knowing that he may die in this operation, Luzu takes this time to reveal something to Waka. Lulu already knows what it is, so she tries to stop him, but Luzu is adamant in believing that Waka should know that he's the one that convinced Chapu to join the Crusaders. After a long, awkward silence, Waka throws him a clean punch to the face. He angrily tells Luzu how Chapu said he would propose to Lulu the day that they win the Blitzball Cup. As Luzu gets up, he tells Waka that Chapu once told him that while being with Lulu is good,
keeping Sin far away from her is better.
After Lulu revealed that Luzu told her this before they left Besaid, Luzu receives his cue to go to his post on the beach. Before he leaves, Waka tells Luzu not to die.
So you can hit me more?
Lots more.
Yuna then tries to stop Luzu, but Auron tells Yuna that he has already chosen his path, just like Yuna has, in becoming a summoner. Auron's words convinced Yuna to move, but Tidus didn't quite understand why those words were so significant to Yuna.
It would be a long time before I ever really understood the reason why Yuna let Luzu pass that day.
After all of this, the group make their way up to the cliff where the command center is. There, Waka sees some Al Bhed weapons and he angrily kicks them.
Curses! Ow!
That was a mistake. Lulu explains to Tidus that Waka hates Machina so much because of what happened to Chapu, but Waka denies this claim and says that he just hates the Machina for being sacrilegious. As they approach the command center, they see some Chocobo Knights and Crusaders loading some Sin spawn in a cage. Then, they find Gata in front of the command center, who sounds very enthusiastic to be doing what he's doing.
The operation will begin shortly. Please check all your equipment.
When Waka asks him if he's alright, Gata expresses his frustration with being left to guard the command center. Auron tells him that he has to accomplish the smaller tasks given to him if he wants to prove himself, but then Gata asks Tidus what he thinks. Here, you get to choose whether or not Gata should stay behind or just go to the front lines, disobeying Luzu. This choice won't affect the story, but it will decide the fate of Gata and Luzu. After this, the group meet up with Maester Kinak, who is happy to see Oran after so long. After Lulu informs Tidus of who Kinak is, Kinak tries to catch up with Oran, asking him where he's been for a decade, but Oran is disinterested with catching up with him. Even being an old friend, it seems that Oran wants nothing to do with any leaders of Yevon. Then Kinak reveals how the Maesters really feel about this operation.
This plan won't work, you know that. We'll just let them dream a little longer.
What?
This catches Tidus' attention, but any confrontation is quickly quelled by Seymour, who informs Kinak that it's time to begin. Before walking away from him, Kinak asks Oran if he's seen Zanarkand. Remember, he told him to tell him all about Zanarkand when he returns. But Oran just walks away. Then finally the operation begins. Their plan is to attract Sin to the shore in order to attack it with all of the Al Bhed weapons, along with a giant one on this other side of the beach. They will do this by torturing his Sin spawn in order to make them call out to Sin, because Sin always returns for its spawn. They then begin torturing the Sin spawn, but the spawns manage to open the cage and an amalgamation of the Sin spawns drop in front of our group. Boss fight time. There are a few boss battles that defeated me my first time through this game, meaning it forced me to reset, or it almost did. Mushak Orguya from Xenosaga Saga 2. This is one of them. Actually, this was the worst of them. It defeated me my first time through this game, and second. Both times I had to restart the game because I couldn't put a scratch on it before it obliterated me. I was skipping almost every random encounter, so I was super underleveled. It's not until I decided to never run away from any encounter that I finally managed to beat him, and ever since, I've maintained the mentality with every RPG I've ever played that I will never skip random encounters. Never run away from battles. XP is precious. There's some loading gears lore for you. The group managed to defeat this spawn by hacking away at its arms in order to get to its weak spots. Once they do, the water and the beach below starts to turn black. Sin approaches. The Crusaders begin firing at it with the Al Bhed cannons, causing chunks of it to fall into the water and turn into fiends which fight the Chocobo Knights on the beach. Sin then forms a sort of force field around itself, which expands, completely vaporizing anything it touches, including all the Chocobo Knights and Crusaders below. The impact of this force field knocks out our group, and when Yuna comes to, she sees Seymour fighting the Sin spawn who has revived. Her and Oran, who is also up, go to help Seymour, and a second boss fight begins without even having the opportunity to save. But it's okay, honestly, because this is a weaker version of the first fight, I think. And Seymour is pretty overpowered. Yeah, you actually get to use Seymour in this fight only. So if you want to see his overdrive, this is the only moment you can do that. After defeating the Sin spawn a second time, Sin itself shifts its attention to the towering Al Bhed weapon next to it. The Al Bhed inside quickly activated and begins shooting a stream of electricity at Sin, who is still being protected by its force field. The lightning causes the force field to bulge inwards, but just like a balloon, the barrier bulges outwards towards the tower and in one hit disables the weapon by breaking it in half. Operation Mi'ihen failed. At some point during all this commotion, Tidus is knocked off of the Mushroom Rock cliff and onto the shore. Within all the destruction, Tidus finds Gata either alive and traumatized or dead, depending on what you told him he should do. If you tell him he should fight, he'll be dead. If you told him to stay behind, he'll be alive and traumatized. After all of this, Sin simply returns to the ocean and swims away. Tidus, furious, yells at it and chases it, telling it not to run away from him, but he's really yelling at Jet, now that he knows that Sin is his father. While Tidus chases behind Sin, Yuna tries to summon an Aeon to stop Sin, but Seymour tells her to stop, as she won't be able to hurt it. Back to Tidus, we see that even in the depths of the ocean, he continues to chase after Sin, until he finally stops, realizing that what he's doing is futile and, frankly, pointless.
I wouldn't know what to do with Sin if I caught it.
I have no idea what I was thinking when I ran after Sin that day. Before I knew what I was doing, there I was, chasing him down like a thief at market. Maybe I was angry. Maybe I wanted to go home. I kept thinking of Zanarkand and my old man. How many died today? People die and Yuna dances. When will she stop dancing? When will it stop? Yuna won't stop dancing, not until Sin is gone. Those were my thoughts then, I think.